Doc, we are back here again on the Doc and Doc podcast radio show with the Dr. Tekemia Dorsey, CEO of DTD Enterprises, and
oh, I love that. The Dr. LaShaune Stitt.
yeah,
I love it. I'm gonna say it. I'm in the process of trying to rebrand myself. And I'm going off our conversation yesterday. I've been busy. I've been very busy today trying to get it together. So I'm not even going to say, I'm going to say author, speaker, educator, coach, all those things. I won't name the organization or the brand. I'll just say what I am. And then
yes, DLS.
Oh, yes.
DLS. DLS.
Right? Right?
Right.
That's how I'm feeling. I'm feeling like that. It's some good energy going on, you know?
Yes.
Good energy.
And it's great. And listen, we've been talking more offline because it's been so much since our last recording and us chatting. It's been like it felt like a whole month, even though it's been like 3 weeks, right?
I know.
Doc, let me tell you. First of all, what do you have? What you been up to?
I was getting ready to say we have to recap, and I'm going to shout it out. I'm going to shout out the Randallstown NAACP led by President Tekemia Walker. Dorsey, I'm sorry. Why did I say Walker? I was in my own zone, right? My bad.
Right.
Dr. Dorsey, I have to say this, and I know there are plenty of people that were there that had the same feeling. It was such a relief, such a joy, such a pleasure to see. I'm going to talk about the young people. So many young people being celebrated and honored for things that they're doing that it's not even, they're not being forced to do it. They're doing it because this is what's on their heart. This is what's on their spirit. They're being moved by maybe it's, parents or caregivers or church members or community members or whatever. But to see so many young people being celebrated and honored, it filled my heart. It really, really did. And we got a chance to dress up and be cute. And we heard
made up in the house.
I was we had an icon in the house. It was a wonderful space, and I know you and your team, you did a lot of work. I know it was a lot of behind the scenes stuff that regular folk we won't know anything about, right. But it was seamless. And so congratulations to all of you. I got to put it out there.
Thanks,
I'm gonna give you your flowers. Yeah.
It was a big deal, and for those that may not have heard Doc, because I know we had a little glitch in there. We held our first NAACP Freedom Fund Gala brunch on May 31st. I mean, like 8 months in the making, and for those players out there, anything that could happen in those last 7 days happened. From caterer to decoration, I mean, you name it, we ran into it. And we had events during the week. So to see it turn out the way that it did was really huge. I never stood from 11 to 5 ever in my life without sitting down. But we could.
I hope you rested on Sunday.
Oh, okay. I went home. I came home and went to sleep that night. I was like, all right, I think it was like 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock. I was out. I was in my bed. Didn't even care.
Right.
I woke up like 5 times, but it was worth it. But the gala and the stuff, and I can't wait till the photos come out and the videos. It was everything that we were hoping. And like you said, people don't know the adversity and the barriers that we had to overcome, in April and March. Into May, beginning of May. I mean, into April, beginning of May, and leadership in times is not for the faint of heart, but pushing through leadership and motivating and answering and putting out fires you didn't create in troubled times is only a testimony of anybody's, of anyone. And, we came out on Topsy, and we thank you for being there and everyone. And again, can't wait, for the photos to come out because we trending on social media. Like, people are just happy and showing. And I'm like, man, we're trending, so it's a good thing. But you got your book signing coming up. Tell us about that. These hoes.
So I'm gonna be in DC on Friday, and it's my first actual book signing for my book, Becoming a Disruptive Visionary, and I'm very excited. I'm nervous. I'm like, all the things. I know what I envision, and I just pray that what has been instilled in me and what's in my vision actually comes to fruition. So I'm going to be at Sankofa. I'm messing up my words today. Sankofa Books and Video, Sankofa Cafe. It's in DC. Actually, not too far from the Howard University. I can't give too many props because Hampton is the family, the real HU.
That's debatable.
Right. And the beauty of it all, to top it all off, I have my high school friend, because I've only graduated 10 years ago.
Right.
And my high school buddy, my Spanish class partner, who he reminds me of stuff, and I'm like, I did that. So my buddy Brian is going to be moderating Friday evening. So it should be very interesting. I'm excited. I mean, again, all the things, excitement, nervous, anxiety, all those things, but it'll be okay on Friday.
So I'm hearing that New York, very interesting. I hear that New York slang coming out. I'll be like, interesting. You like interesting. Yes. For those that don't know, Dr. L is from the NYC.
Yes, baby. Yes. NYC. Look, and I have my shirt on today. Actually, I don't know if you can see it, but
Future Lady, Future something.
Future Ready. Yeah. So that was one of in New York City Department of Education. They have pathways, right? And their tracks. So I was training teachers on that are in schools that are either specifically on an education track where they're training their juniors and seniors, or some have a health track, some have technology, and so forth and so on. So I had the pleasure of returning to the city in a different role, but still being connected to the teachers and administrators and leadership team, and having a hand in the next generation of educators. Yeah. So repping NYC.
Yes, we look not only on the shirt, but also in the slang.
Right. Okay.
Dr. L, cannot wait for you to have such an amazing book signing on Friday. That's very exciting. As an author of 100+ books in print.
Right. I know
No, but listen, it's one thing to say it. It's another thing to do it. And you're doing the darn thing is all I'm trying to say, right? So, for all those that are out there, I'm hoping to swing by there, like drive by, maybe be in the audience, be like, you never know, but yes.
Right. But if not, I told you there's another one coming up on June 21st, and it's a little closer to home, so maybe you can make that one.
What time is that one?
I know about travel. That one is Saturday. It's in the afternoon. It's 4 to 6, I believe. 4 to 6 on Saturday.
I might be able to make that. I'll be getting installed. I can't tell you just yet for the position I have coming up. But right. You can't tell until they put it out there. But anyway, Doc, we are back.
Yes.
So much has happened. For those that are tuning in, listening, rewinding, both Dr. L and I have earned our degrees. There's no honorary here. So we've gone through this process, right? And anything about earning a doctoral degree, not honorary. Like accredited 4-year school, research, methodology, all of that great stuff. No knocking those that went the other way. Right. You come out like I'm not, being traumatized by writing some things.
Yes.
Forming that thought. Everything about leadership, everything about a higher education degree through the process is about leadership. You cannot tackle anything if it doesn't have a leadership component, a spin, a focal area. And that's the difference. This is why most of us that hear honorary, we don't acknowledge it, because it's completely different. Like, it is fluff, the substance. We're the substance. So when we're talking leadership, this is not something that we just woke up in our 100+ years and decided to do. Like, we've gone through the grind, and not just through theory, but really practical application.
Right. That's what I was getting ready to say. You read my mind.
It's the Dr. Doc show. That's why, right? So, diving into these topics through our experiences and our various fields and things like that are real live scenarios we've gone through, and we're talking, but we're doing this because there are current leaders out there that have experienced what we're going through, or leaders on the horizon that don't know what's coming down the pike. And oftentimes when you're working with a coach or a consultant, they're not giving you those innuendos. They're not giving you the horror stories. They're giving you the output, and you still got to go through this growth part, right? And for every leadership journey, everybody is going to go through a metamorphosis. And then when you go through that one, you're going through another one, right? You're always this caterpillar in a cocoon. And it's not for the faint of heart. Whether you are running your business or nonprofit, or you ascended, or you were just placed there by title, your resolve as a leader, not a manager, even a manager, will always be tested. And we've experienced so many things recently. I was just like, we got to talk about it.
Right.
What Dr. L, like, what's your input on that?
It's a lot, and based off of our offline conversations, and really examining like leadership, true leadership. You have some leaders who are really strong and they know what they're doing. I guess I'll put it that way. Yeah, they know what they're doing. And then you have some leaders who don't know what they're doing. They're completely clueless, and they need to step aside. But you said something interesting about future leaders, right? The leaders on the horizon. I love that.
That's our t-shirt. No, I'm just joking. Go ahead.
I like that. There has to be some type of like a changing of the guards, so to speak, the passing of the baton. And what do you do, or what happens when you have a leader who's holding on to that baton and doesn't want to let go, and it's like, no, I'm going to be here, and even though they don't know what they're doing, or they're detached, or things are running amok, and what happened? Like, how do we rectify that? Like, how do we move that one leader out of the position and let the leader on the horizon come through and shine and do their thing? Right. Like, between that and having goofy leaders not only running this country, on a local level too. On a local level, like, it's top down. What are we doing? What's happening? It's so many thoughts in my head, so please forgive me. But I those are the things that are like, if you have people in place that are supposed to be leaders and they're not doing what they're supposed to do, we need to get them out of the way. You need to go and make room for this. Yes, right. Yes. Completely hindering growth and progress. Right. I don't know. So those are my thoughts.
Right. And you said, how do a person that's stepping out of leadership and a person that's coming in, what do we do? It's really the person that is stepping off that needs to close the door. Like, if it's your time, if you've resigned, or if your term is up, or you're not feeling it, you're not, really putting forth that passion and a mission and a vision at what you signed up for, gracefully bow out. But don't allow it to come back and cause messiness and cause confusion. And for those that are listening, when we're talking about leaders on a horizon, or leaders going through things, most people may know I currently took over president of a local NAACP branch. Not ideally, right?
Right.
And that's currently what today an email came out from the former person through a branch email, like is representing the current executive committee to the current executive list and membership. And it says former president at the end. A leader should know not to do that, because it's causing messy controversy and it's sending negative vibes and a negative tone and a negative, like that is not leadership quality. That is a hot darn mess. And, as constituents emailing you and they're like, what's up with this? So now, instead of us doing a good work, like John Lewis would say, we're putting out fires we didn't start. So when you have leaders that have stepped off, like you said, and leaders that are now in a position, why are those old leaders coming back? Why are they not working in the best interest of the organization, in the best interest of the people that you vowed to work for, right? At one point. And you're still being acknowledged as a person that has done things, but that's not true. Why not hand over the reins? Is it jealousy? Is it conspiracy? Is it personal endeavors? Is it a political thing? But whatever it is, you're causing friction in a culture where just waking up is friction. Is a problem. What is
that's a lot. That was a loaded pistol that you just gave me, and I'm getting ready to buck shots.
Listen, before you add it, this is exactly what a current leader is going through. They're in a new position. They've been ascended up the way they need to be, and they're being stabbed in the back. They're being railroaded. They're being, not being supported. They're being backstabbed. They're and people looking at the leadership trying to figure out what's going on. But we can only, like Serenity Prayer, we're only in control of ourselves. We can't go and tell somebody else. We can send a cease and desist, but if that person doesn't do it, now it goes up this chain. And for what? I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, you're fine. You know what? That brings to mind the whole election process that we went through last year, right? And people were saying, Biden needs to step down. He needs to this, that, and the other. He's incompetent, blah, blah, blah. Biden was like, I ain't going nowhere. But then the pressure, it was like extreme pressure, And then you have Kamala Harris step up, or I'll say step up. Yeah, let me say that. Let me say step up. And take on a leader, take on her and really embrace her leadership capacity, and then take the baton and run. But it was a struggle. It was a real struggle. And in that case, when you look at Biden, you say, come on, man, people want you to just step aside. But he was holding on. And I don't know if it was a holding on to prove that he was still capable, to to show that he could still run a country. I really don't know. But it brings that to mind. Like, that's where a lot of the friction came in early on, because she was like, okay, let me do this. But then it was a block. And I feel for Biden. Don't get me wrong. I feel for him, because he was put in a situation where it was like, yo, you got to choose, bro. You have to choose. And, I'm not saying, oh God. And then we think about who's in the office now, and it throws everything off. Like, we could have had Boo Boo the Fool run the country, right? Oh, maybe we do have Boo Boo run the country.
We're not going there with you today.
I know, I'm sorry. But it just causes so much confusion
Right.
when that happens, because think about all the people that that they were supervising. Everyone who comes underneath, they're watching the confusion and they're like,
Right.
who do I listen to? Where's my allegiance stands? It's so much confusion for the folks that are, I don't want to say subservient. That sounds really, who are on the level, the next rung, so to speak. And
Right.
they're just watching and waiting, like, okay, if Joe steps down, then we can do X, Y, and Z. But if he doesn't, we still have to dance. It's like dancing, the safe dance. And it's not fair. It's not fair to the people under them. It's not fair to the masses. Come on. How many people we have in this country?
Yeah, and the thing about, but it still goes back to your original question: is how does who can really control another, right? So if you are a current leader that has ascended or have taken over or newly elected, and you
Mm-hmm.
have the old boy network, you have the former
Mm-hmm.
leader that is not
Mm-hmm.
really respecting a protocol and a process
Mm-hmm.
in a
Mm-hmm.
transition. Like, what do you do? Like, how do you remain professional? How do you
Right.
remain cordial? How do
Mm-hmm.
you ensure integrity and put ethics where there are none,
Right.
and where there's lacking, I should say,
Mm-hmm.
outside of venting, like what is
What?
happening? So,
What?
like, the one thing I would offer that I had to do today, because this is, having a branch, moving it forward, coming out of the fire that we're coming out of, and
Mm-hmm.
really trying to set a trajectory. It really kind of catapult us backwards with this
Mm-hmm.
nonsense. I just sent a cease and desist email. Cease and desist. You are no longer part of this branch. You should not be emailing our active membership. And this could go to nationals, but right now we're trying to handle it locally. Hopefully you'll work with us. And
And
then
that
we're
just
praying that would nip it in the bud.
right. But again, there's some people that seek conflict, right?
Right.
They
See,
make it their business to be in messy conflict, chaos, and all kinds of stuff. Then there are folks who want to avoid that. And let's just keep it clean. Let's be respectful. Let's move with some, like you said, integrity and go with our moral compass. The people who thrive in conflict and chaos, I don't know I don't know what that's like. I just know that it causes confusion. It causes people to question, so who is really the leader, right? Who is the real leader? And you never want that. And again, I guess because, experience is your greatest teacher, right? And I always refer back to, being in the classroom, or being in the school, or being in, a college or university level. You have university presidents who have gone through some chaos, and they've had to kind of dance that dance. They don't want to let go, but they've had to let go. What does that do for the scouts? What does that do for your students? What does that do for your department heads? It just makes everything so messy. And again, I know where, this could go in so many different directions. But the question is, and especially for those who are listening, the question is, when do you know it's time to step away? When do you know it's time to pass the baton? Like, what will it take for you to say, you know what, I'm going to bow out gracefully? What will it take? Will it take embarrassment? Will it take a coup? Will it take like some overthrowing of the government? We know this has happened. I'm not encouraging anyone to do it right now, but I'm just saying, I'm putting it out there. What what's the signal? Because if something is not working and the machine is not running, and it's because of that kink in the machine, then you have to get rid of the kink. I don't know.
And the other thing that you said, you don't want to, as a leader that's stepping in a role, you never want to oust a person. You don't want the public humiliation. You don't want to seem like it's a drag out battle. But, and you're hoping, but that's not leadership. When there's a person that has stepped down, been removed, ousted out, no longer a part, that's the problem. And it does make, and you mentioned those we serve. Like leadership is never about self. It should not be about self. But we talked about the moral compass, the ethics, the morals, the standards. And that's what's been lacking in a lot of so-called leaders that we've been running into lately, where the examples are, it's just leaving you like this, face palm.
Right. Every day.
Like what is going on? And you never want to send a cease and desist or anything that is organizational chaos. In organizational chaos, we expect that as leaders within an organization, because most of us are working volunteer or it's a volunteer organization, or if paid is even more at stake. So why aren't people doing that? Why are they creating headway where their lights are out, right? The light is not that bright. And that is part of the problem. And, it could be answered in a lot of ways. So for those leaders that are in transition, future leaders of the organizations, those that are caught in these scenarios right now, you're not alone. And for me, I had to pick up the phone and call a person to vent.
Right.
Like, first I called a person that I trust from wisdom. Like, hey, this is not correct. What am I missing? And of course, the person is walking me through it. Not that I didn't know it, but it's always good to have that person you can lean on.
Absolutely.
Then when I got done with that person, I had to call a person and I had to vent, like, very, PG.
This is what it is.
Like, what the crap? Like, what is the meaning behind this? And then I had to step away. And then when I finally got through to the internet, I sent a very professional, to the point email, and I'm going to put my hands on, let it go. And so I copied all of my executive committee on it. I screenshotted the email and sent it as an attachment to kind of follow up on X, Y, and Z. And having to do that stopped the workflow of working on behalf of whoever we're working for, because it was a unnecessary conflict that should not have been. But like you said, it's, why would a person that calls themselves a leader do that?
I don't know, but you know what? You said, this is interesting, and I think it's important, especially if you're in a leadership capacity. You need to have, whether it's an advisory board, your venting crew, your brunch girls, or whatever the case may be. We all need that support system to say,
yes,
you know what, Dr. D, you're wrong. Or you know what, Dr. D, you are. That is absolutely, maybe you should handle it like this. We all need that. That's your voice of reason. Like you said, your voice of wisdom and reason and your conscience. Because sometimes, and I'll speak for myself, sometimes people say things and they do things, and it makes you maybe not so nice. And, you have to step back and say, what's another way that I can handle this? Now, granted, that's not always the situation, but for the most part, if you're in a leadership capacity, it has to happen, because you can cause extreme, like you can shut a whole organization down just by that. Right. And from my own experience, I was in a situation where my leader wasn't exhibiting great leadership skills. I'll say it like that. I'm trying to, I don't want to put anybody on blast yet. And it was driving me, it was driving me crazy. It was affecting me. And you know what? It took a minute, but I had to think. I said, I can't be in this space. I can't. You know what I mean? I know I'm a strong leader, and not just, and I'm thankful for the people who have recognized that. But I know that I'm a strong leader, but I can't function in chaos and confusion. I just can't. It's easier for me to step back and pull back than to be in the midst of that. And that's what you don't want as a leader. You don't want to lose your good people. You don't want to lose contact. And in your case, you don't want to cause the breakdown, I guess you could say. And I'm trying to keep it in a PG manner. But you don't want those things to happen. And because you're in a delicate position, and I say it's delicate because of the background, because of how things went down. You're in a very delicate position as a leader. And how do you still, and I'm saying assert, but not like, yeah, I'm the boss, because some people, they have that control thing. But how do you assert yourself as a leader and still maintain your will, your wits, your
dignity,
who you are, your dignity, your character, all of those wonderful things about yourself? How do you do that, without succumbing to the nonsense? Because people do poke the bear for a reason. People poke the bear for a reason. I mean, we have so much, like it's so much that all of this stuff that we're talking about in leadership, but all of these things really, they connect.
Yes.
As a strong leader, you have to know when to say, my time is up. It's time to go. Let me let go. Let me pass the baton.
Right. You got to have a strong support system, like you said.
You got to have that strong support system.
In several levels, the person that can give you wisdom that is beyond your years, then a person that you can just be flat out raw with and be honest. And then being able to step away and understanding the impact of the fine line, which is what you were saying. There is a fine line leadership. You're not always going to be right. And there's always going to be someone, somebody, something, or group of people that's going to want to bring you down. But it comes back to that mirror image. Who you are and how you're going to. And we always hear it's not what you say, but how you say it. And especially if you can't get to the person verbally, then it's even more important before you hit that send button. But having that support system, like you said, comes back to the person and how you govern. And govern first starts with yourself, because like you said, if you
come wrong,
you're using the wrong words, if you come across, if you're using Gmail where you can put emojis in there and you put the wrong emoji in there, then it's like if you use all caps, it's like you're screaming at the person. So before you wreck yourself, check yourself and have people around you that are authentic, that will check you and that you don't mind being checked with. Right. That's exactly what you were saying. Even with your leader, and sometimes we do run into that leader that wants to be all dictative. We get back into these leadership traits and skills and things like that. Being authority does not make you all knowing. It doesn't make you God or Jesus. You still got to be mindful how you come across and talk to people and how you deliver messages, because nowadays somebody can pluck you and it's on the internet for 30 seconds and now your life is ruined.
That's
even your boss that was treating you less than professional, like you said, why? Why come across? Is it because they are, does they lack empathy or sympathy, or is it jealousy thing? Is it, do they feel like they woke up that morning and their pants was a little too tight and they didn't know how to tell somebody? It all has a problem in how people see you and want to deal with you. And that is, like you said, it can go the right way or the wrong way. And as leaders, not managers, we got to know that fine line, but also have that support system.
That's absolutely right. And the control factor is major,
Right.
And I get it, because, and again, I'm going to draw it back to me. There was a time where I was a single mother, right? And I was in control of my household. And I was the one who was responsible for, saying when this happens and how, how everything ran, how the entire, because I had to, at one point I had two little ones and I was trying to maintain my sanity, but still run my household and still be a full-time leader in a leadership capacity. And it was conflicting for me. And when I, in that space of being in control, when my husband and I got together and we dated for a period of time, and slowly he started to be assimilated into the fold, so to speak. It was a challenge for me. I didn't know how to loosen up the reins and relinquish my control and my authority because I had been in that space for so long. And so it wasn't intentional, but it was something that he made me aware of, and I had to check myself as well. And so, those dynamics, it could be in a relationship, it's still the control thing. And I don't want to give it up. Because then you look like you're weak. You're the weaker one if you give up that control. But when you look at it, it's an ebb and flow. Growth. Right? Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And that development of, it's okay to have somebody that you can lean on, that right. can, I think that for me, it was tough. And I'm not going to lie. It was tough. And at times it's still kind of tough because of my personality. Mm-hmm. But I know that I'm not the only one in charge. I'm not the only leader. We take turns in the household. But when you look at it and you put that same type of scenario into an organization, there has to be the same thing. I know you have your second in command, that kind of thing going on. There will be times where, and I know you're going to step back and be like, how you do your thing.
Right.
That's the sign of a dynamic leader, an effective leader, because you're giving people an opportunity to shine and do their thing. And you're not so caught up in, ooh, I'm the president. You know what I mean?
Listen to me.
The wife, that kind of thing. It's hilarious when you really think about it. But some people really, they haven't learned that, And again, it's trial and error. This whole journey, however you look at your life, this journey is trial and error. But yes. I always say, when you know better, you do better. We know we're not supposed to be trying to hold on to everything and I'm in control of everything, because you drive yourself crazy.
Right.
In a sense where you're trying to keep up with everything. And I've been there. I swear, I've gotten to the point where it's like, okay, whatever.
It'll be all right. It'll be all right.
Yes. But younger me was like, oh no, because I had to do it for so long. And then again, and I know you know this as a mother of Black sons, we have this type of persona that we have to keep up for other people, in a sense. Right. Mm-hmm. We can't have our sons become statistics. We can't, so then that's that control thing too. So it's a whole lot of dynamics working there, as far as who we are. But when you're looking at it, if you take that same type of energy from your household to your workplace, and knowing that it's a give and take, it's an ebb and flow. I need to be your support system. You need to be my support system. I need to know that this may not be my lane. I can pass it on to you and be okay and know that things are going to work out. I don't want confusion. We don't want confusion. All of those dynamics are at play as well in your organization. So I know I said a lot, and I hope some of it made sense.
And what I heard you say is the difference between a transaction and transformation. When it's a transaction,
yes,
it's just about it. What's in it for me? This is what I got. You're gonna follow me. I'm in control. I tell you jump. You say how high. I say report at 8. You need to report at 7:59. And people become miserable. They're unhappy. You know, they're talking about you in the break room, or your husband is dipping out, or your wife is dipping out, and you're trying to understand because, like you said, all about this control thing. But is that more so control or lack of insecurity or feeling of abandonment or not being seen? Or maybe they want the spotlight, or maybe they by themselves and they, you know, looking for that nicky or whatever. As opposed to the transformation where people that are solid in who they are and what they bring to the table and what they have to offer, and not feeling that they in competition, but more of a collaboration. They like, I'm good. You get the spotlight. I'm good in the background. My name doesn't have to be in lights. I don't always have to be in the front. It's not a I, it's a we kind of thing. And that's the difference between transaction and managing and transformation and leadership. And we need more we need more of the transformation and the leadership, because, and, you know, and I said this to you offline, you know, Doc, and I'm gonna put it out there. People hella mad at Trump, and I am not a Republican. I'm a diehard Democrat, and at one point I felt like a liberal because I couldn't trust Democrats or liberals. I'm just like, really, I'm gonna just stay still because I believe in some things Republican and some things Democrat. But when I think of as a, I mean, and I've led, don't get me wrong, but in these last 90 days, when you're going through projects and events and you're trying to work for the people and you're kind of running into stuff that doesn't make sense, and you're now at the top and you're now hearing things and experiencing things, and you know, you're really beginning to see people true colors because they think they can do something for you. You know, we are the problem. You know, we hear often that we, you know, Black people don't support Black businesses. Man, let me tell you something.
Don't go there.
I'm not. But all I'm gonna say is we are the hindrances of our own success.
I love the way, you know what? Go ahead. I'm sorry to interrupt.
No, I just, you know, whether it's listening to a leader or supposed leader to make a promise and money that doesn't deliver, and you now chasing them down, knowing that they ambushed you, wrong. Or it's people that knowing they supposed to purchase a ticket for something and they thought they was going to show up at the last minute until they get the email saying you're not going to get in unless your name on the list. Or people saying that they purchased 2 to 3 tickets but didn't get a receipt, or didn't get a confirmation. You ask them for the receipt and all of a sudden they apologizing. Or people saying they didn't get the email because they paid for a vendor spot, then come back and say, well, it was on my list and I forgot to pay for it. My apologies. Or we hire someone and they supposed to have a catering license and a catering something. Come to find out they ain't got either or. And they told you they had it, and it's a week before an event and all hell breaking loose. We are the problem. But you want to,
you know, I'm laughing for a reason.
Listen, I you know, and I would hear, you know, Black business owners saying, you know, it's us, we the problem. We don't support one another. If my eyes could roll back and come back, it's the lack of professionalism, the lack of ethics, the lack of morals, the lack of honesty, the lack of transparency, the lack of communication. You know, people trying to present like they got full-fledged companies and they got side hustling going on. So you want your money up front, but you ain't producing something, you know, and then it's like, and so all of that comes back into at home, on the job, entrepreneur, working with businesses, working with contracts while we're not advancing. And it could be a white thing. It could be it can't be an Asian thing. Let's not even go there, right? But
No,
it could be a black thing. It is a black thing, but it could be another culture. But people hella mad at Trump right now. And I'm not condoning anything he's done. Let's not get this twisted. But
there's
when
a
I
way you do things,
it's right. But let's look at the things that we're running into, even down to this redistricting.
Oh,
that we just realized and heard offline that one of the maps is not even based off our county. It's based off another, not even in our state. And it's been 4 meetings over a year of this to come down and find out that the map that most people are pushing towards is not even valid based off the data in our county. How is that even possible?
Tell me why you just dropped about 10 bombs right there.
I am up here. I'm sitting back every day like, this is why we can't get anything done.
But you know what? You got to look at it like this. And I'm sorry to break your wisdom talk, but this is like a therapy session, right? For us.
That's why we had to be real today. That's
right.
We're not mention names, but we leadership, and we're talking accountability. We've thrown the words morals and ethics and transactions versus transformation. Like, there are leaders out there right now, Doc, that are struggling in their skin because they think they are the only ones that have gone through it or are going through it or have yet to enter that phase. And our reality to this is to let them know they are not by themselves. But this too shall pass. They will get through it. Do not think, if you are a leader right now, if you are a person in a position, and you don't have to be a president or anything, it's really waking up each day. Waking up is leadership.
Yep.
What you do from sun up to sundown is leadership versus management. Let's just put it out there. If you got children, it's leadership versus management. If you are a husband or wife that's not stepping out, it's leadership and management. And let's not add in the booze, because that makes it even more of a hustle, right?
Yeah, man.
A lack of management of money or trying to take a person, that is everything about how you move and groove is leadership versus management. And somebody right now don't have a support system. They don't have the wisdom to call somebody that they can trust or feel like they can pour their heart out to without it being on the internet in a video or conversation in a beauty salon. They don't have a person right now that they can call or text to get it out. They may not know how to really communicate in writing without coming off like a mad black woman or man or whatever. And that communication, all of these things are what people are going through. So we're being strategic.
Yes.
But these examples are very real. And
legitimate.
You want to make sure, which is why, if people are listening right now and you're like, well, what the heck are they talking about? Rewind. Listen to the problems, listen to the heartaches, listen to the strategies, but also listen to the solutions. You got to find your tribe as a leader within your space, especially if you've been charged to lead others. You really need that group that you can go to. Go ahead, Doc.
I was just going to add and be very discerning about who you trust with your venting or, whatever the case may be. We have to be very discerning about that because people do tend to be strategically petty. That's just the way to put it. There are some people who prey on your downfall, who pray for your failures, right? And I'm gonna tell the listeners, I'm gonna tell everybody, I was going through it with like trying to figure out like what am I supposed to be doing? I feel like, well, this. I was at that point where it was like, I don't know. And you came up to, you just was like, leadership, man. Everything you do is leadership. You know what I mean? It was like, what's wrong with you? Snap out of it. You know, that kind of. But I knew that I could share that with you, and I was going to get an honest, clean, because you know you like to use the clean words, honest, clean, supportive response. I knew that. And for some people, that's being very vulnerable also. Yes, I was being very vulnerable. Mm-hmm. And, you know, there are some people that take your vulnerability and they twist it and they use it against you. So I knew I could say this to Doc and it will be received in the way in which I'm giving it. And she's going to be very honest and transparent with me. There's some folks that I have to be very, very strategic in what I share. Mm-hmm. I've learned that over the years. You can't tell everybody your business, and you can't allow yourself in some spaces. You can't allow yourself to be so vulnerable that someone has the opportunity to pull that thread and just destroy everything that you've worked so hard for.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Leave you in depression, right?
Depression, all kinds of
jump off a ledge.
Yes. So I say this in putting myself out there. I'm thankful that I've gotten to the point where I have people, whether we've been longtime friends or whether we, you know, just been close friends recently. I'm careful with who I share things with, because I know I can trust them. And so I'm very discerning about what I say and what I share. But as a leader, that's major. You can't just be like, oh yeah, you know, I spent up all the money for the company or what, you know, whatever the case may be. You gotta
I got these ideas and you turn around and somebody else doing it. You'd be like, I thought we was friends.
Right. I told you what happened to me. You know, plenty of times that has happened. But so it's so important when you're in that leadership capacity or still trying to figure out how you fit in as a leader. You know, you have to have all of those things that we said. You have to be discerning. You have to have that support group. You have to be self-reflective also.
Yes.
So that stepping back and like, okay, maybe, because we all know I've been in those positions and I've had to step back and say, okay, I could give you the, you know, right then and there, both barrels, but I got to step back and let me figure out a nice way to put it. But I don't want you to misconstrue what I'm saying. I want to be very clear, but I can say it in a respectful manner and still maintain my dignity, still maintain my integrity, and still maintain my respect.
Right.
You know,
even if you don't have any, you got to develop it. Right. And as you were speaking, Doc, what also comes to mind, and listen, you know, if people have not realized, we're just like straightforward. As women, we're like down here, right? Mm-hmm. It's this group, all males. Then it's this group of women, and then it's this group, and then it's us. But it's just women in general. You know, when you are a woman, intelligent, headstrong, organized, visionary, passionate, know your stuff, you know, aren't afraid to be the leader but follower, you know, an advocate. Yes. Those are all threats. I know I'm kind of going it down a different road, and that's a whole nother.
No, that's another conversation.
Right. But as a female leader in today's time or in time period, it could have been yesterday, today, or tomorrow. We got to be extra vigilant in all of these areas that we're talking about. That discernment, not being, you know, being proactive, not reactive, you know, being advocate, stepping back, finding your tribe. And sometimes you might got to talk to yourself in the mirror. Listen, girl, you're okay. But man, that wishbone, I was wishing it was out of here, right? Whatever you have to do to not allow people to see you sweat, because as soon as they see that side,
that's it.
all downhill. And like, we're not talking about corporate culture. We're just talking about in general. So even for our young girls that are coming up.
Yes.
Headstrong, already full of leadership styles and aspiration, and they're advocating all of those things. People will want to suppress that. But you got to fight through that glass ceiling to ensure that you are up. Invite yourself to the table. But once you get there, don't destroy the opportunity. It all goes back into that self-reflection, that time management, that discernment, that being able to sit still and not run into we don't need any more Olivia Popes. Olivia Pope is out of business right now because she knew it was too much. We got to be able to
watch Scandal before.
I'm not talking to you right now. We got to need to sit and just understand that as women, it's a lot harder. And I will say African American women, because I've never been white, but I do know that they got some, perks that we don't. It is what it is. I'm mixed. I'm a mixed up individual, but on the outside, I'm Black. Right. So there are barriers and ladders we're still climbing, even as we were just talking about the other day, positions we have applied for that we're overqualified for, that's not getting it. Delay doesn't mean deny, but all we're saying is that as a leader, you're going to go through stuff. But it's not what you go through, it's how you handle it. And if you don't have a process and how you're dealing with it, or people you can talk to, or a system in place, or stepping away, then you need to rewind this podcast. You need to rewind, listen to the strategies, take away
pad and paper,
get your transformation, not your transaction plan, and to figure out where you want to go. But most importantly, don't lose your integrity, don't lose your morals, don't lose your ethics, don't compromise your belief system to get ahead, because you're going to come back crashing real quick, because the only thing that you have is your reputation.
That's right.
You can do a million things right, one thing wrong,
and that's it. That's
all it takes. It will take years to recover. And for our women out there now, leaders that have mentees, or our children, or our young children, they're watching and seeing any and everything you say and don't do.
That's right.
So that's like a whole new generation that they're either going to see the fight, they're going to see the struggle, they're going to understand the struggle, but still seeing you fighting. But we got to lead better in today's time. Like when I say we, I mean us, right?
Us.
Me, everybody that's listening. We are only serenity prayer always come to mind. We can only be responsible for us, but God always give us a charge for others.
I love that.
But go ahead, Doc. I know
right
now.
No, that's the thing. I was gonna say, for those who are listening and taking notes, mental notes, physical, however you're doing, copious notes. For those of you who are really
SAT word, copious. Go look it up. COPISOU.
Right. For those of you who are taking in everything that we had to share, I know I'm gonna speak for both of us. We hope that you have gained something that you can put in your pocket, in your little bag, your leadership bag. So when you're going into your leadership space, you can say, oh yeah, okay, I could pull out my support group. Oh yeah, I could pull out, hopefully there has been something that has resonated and something that clicked to make you think in your leadership capacity. Am I being a control freak? Am I insecure? Am I jealous or fearful of letting go? If I am, what do I need to do to get past that? What do I need to do so that the next leader coming has a smooth transition, there's no chaos or confusion, and everything can continue to run in the manner in which it's supposed to run?
Right.
That's all I'm really praying that there's something that we said that has resonated and is reflective in the work that these leaders here that are listening, that they continue to do and bring to their spaces, whether it's a classroom, whether it's your kitchen, whether it's a corporate office. Bring that same energy, those same things that those strategies that we talked about. Bring it to those spaces so that you can avoid the confusion. You can avoid people looking at you like, what kind of leader you call yourself being? Because you already know I'm gonna be looking at people sideways. We, that is what. Because listen, Doc, seriously, we are in a phase where, we're kind of coasting.
Yeah.
We're not trying to prove ourselves as this new teacher or this new counselor, and we're not doing that. We're dropping gems and we're passing it on, and hopefully it has resonated with someone. So that's all I have to say.
And the last two things I would say, in addition to what you're saying, is most importantly, whether you're transactional or transforming, you got to believe in yourself.
Yes.
Even as doctoral holders with 100+ years between us, we still go through self-doubt. Like we was in a meeting last night, and that meeting went to another meeting, and 3.5 hours later, we were still on reconnecting, because even as leaders with years of experience, decades, the doubt still creeps in. Yes. So you are not alone. It's okay. And that just means that you're respecting the struggle. You're respecting what's in front of you. And if it was that easy, everybody would be doing it, right? But even when you see a leader around you that is not doing things so well, but then you see leaders around you that's doing exactly what you want, embrace all those things and make it your own. But most importantly, believe in yourself. And then going back, ending on this, what is your leadership style? You used the word effective earlier, Doc. And that's what it's about. Are you an effective leader? Are you just leading? Are you just there? But most importantly, knowing, and let me tell y'all something. Coaching is not a theory of a leadership style. It is not. So if people telling you, oh, my leadership style is coaching, it is not a leadership style. It is not. It is not a leadership style. That is, did not say I'm coaching today.
Somebody said
yes. Oh my God. I remember doing this conference a few years ago, and somebody was like, what's your leadership style? They was like, coaching. That is not a leadership style. Anyway, but no. If you don't know what your leadership style is or have no idea what that is, you got to join me and Doc coming up. That's a workshop. We're going to have a half-day workshop, and knowing what your leadership style is, which fits your personality, your interest, and your approach. That is a big difference. But let me tell you, coaching is not a leadership style. Unless you got an honorary degree, maybe. I don't know. But when those of us that earned it, it is not a go. Who was the originator of that leadership style?
I don't know.
If you tell me anything from 2000 above, it's not credible. Anyway, we got to end this, Doc.
Yes.
We just, like you said, we've been dropping nuggets and gems today. Leading is hard.
Yes.
But if you take it, we're not going to just take a moment. We need more leaders today. We need more transformation and less transactions, even though transactions lead to transformations. But we gotta lead better. It starts with us, and then those we impact. And some days you're just not feeling it. But like you said, step away.
That's right.
Tap into the power of discernment, but do not give up anything that says different about you, your ethics, your morals, and stuff like that. Get your support system. Be still, be mindful what you share with others. All of those things we talked about. Well, I'm Dr. Tekemia Dorsey, CEO of DTD Enterprises, and
I'm Dr. LaShaune Stitt, who is still in the process of rebranding. So we have all the things.
Yes, all of the above. We appreciate everyone tuning in, chiming in, taking notes, leaving comments below, sharing it in your network.
Yep.
Figured out what happens, what works for you. But we wanted to see you live in our workshops that are coming up. Stay tuned. We're dropping on nuggets. But until next time, we will see you on the Doc and Doc Radio and Podcast Show. And for now, we are out. Holla at you.